know what kind of bird this is, but some type of bird that doesn't technically fly in the air very much. It's a ground bird, and some type of bird that people eat. So you're welcome to Google what kind of bird it is, but those are just types of birds that don't really fly in the air. They stay on the ground and people hunt them for food. Any others? Okay. Moving on to the next one. Let me see. I'm gonna try and get it all on one. There we go. One page. Ken settled on the chukar partridge as a model species, but he might not have made his discovery without a key piece of advice from the local rancher in Montana who was supplying him with birds. When the cowboy stopped by to see how things were going, Ken showed him his nice, tidy laboratory setup and explained how the birds' first hops and flights would be measured. The rancher was incredulous. He took one look and said, in pretty colorful language, "What are those birds doing on the ground? They hate to be on the ground. Give them something to climb on." Any questions in this one?
Yeah. What is settled on?
Say it one more time.
Settled on.
Settled on. To settle on, I'm trying to find it. Why can't I find it? Settled on.
In the first line.
The first line. Thank you. Oh, you guys. Thank you. The reason I needed to see it is because I wanted to find it as like sitting on something, to settle, make yourself comfortable. But that's not what it means in this context. It means he decided on that he decided his research bird would be the chukar partridge. So to settle means to either make yourself comfortable, to sit and get cozy, or it means to decide on something. What else?
Miss, we also use settle on like in marriage. Right.
Can you give me an example of what I mean?
Right. In one of Adele's songs, I heard that you settled on with another girl, like that.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted an example is like people will say they settle, meaning you have a high standard. You want your spouse to have these certain qualities and traits, right? To be this level of, standard of a type of person that they are. And then you settle, you lower your standards and you say, okay, well, maybe they don't do this thing, or maybe they don't have that character trait, or maybe they don't have this job or this, whatever. And so you settle, you lower your standard. So yeah, you can use it in that sense too. People talk about that a lot. Good. What else? Yes, Mamie asks.
The rancher was incredulous.
Incredulous, this one?
Incredulous, yeah. The rancher was incredulous.
Yes. Incredulous means like shocked, amazed, can't believe your eyes. Just like can't even believe that would be true. You're incredulous. I'll try and look up like a true definition. But that's how people use it, is like you can't even believe it. You can't, yes, unwilling or unable to believe something. You just, how could you do that? And it's often in this like exclamatory sense of not just like, oh, that's hard to believe, I'm skeptical, but like, what is happening? Yeah.
So Miss, that is incredulous, positive or negative?
What's what?
Incredulous, is it positive or negative?
In this context is negative, because he's just like, how could you be so dumb? Give the bird something to climb on. He can't believe the scientist didn't know that. I'm trying to think if it could be used positively. I suppose it could be sort of neutral, of like, maybe someone put on some type of show or some sort of art piece, and you're just so incredulous that they could even make that like you're just so amazed, you just can't even believe that that's a painting and not a photograph, right? So I guess that's like a positive sense of like you're incredulous that they made that painting that looks like a photograph. So I guess it could be used positively.
Teacher, is that the word come from incredible?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Why did
That's okay. Nick, go ahead and say what you were going to say, and I'll come back to you, Angel, okay?
Miss why did the author use like pretty colorful language?
Yes. Yes, good question. Thank you for asking. So what that is referring to is that he was using swear words. He was cussing. And obviously, right, this is from a book. It's used in academic settings. And so oftentimes authors won't want to actually use those swear words in their writing. And so they have to somehow let the reader know that he's not speaking politely or using words that you can say just in common public. And so pretty colorful language, right? Colorful language means you are cussing. Yep, good question. Angel, what's your question? Thank you for your patience.
So rancher.
Say it one more time.
Rancher.
Rancher.
Yeah.
A rancher is like a farmer, but usually does not grow crops unless maybe they grow feed for cattle. And the rancher either like raises like cattle, cows, or a rancher for the purpose of killing them for food, or a rancher raises like horses for the purpose of like working or all sorts of different things. So rancher like has herds of, or maybe you could be like a buffalo rancher. Some types of herds of animals, domestic animals, that you don't, like a farmer also has animals, right? But they don't have near the amount a rancher has, and they also like grow food and things. Ranchers don't, unless maybe they grow some hay or feed or alfalfa or something for their animals. Good question. Any others? All right, let's keep it moving. Sorry, I keep coughing. At first, it seemed unnatural. Ground birds don't like the ground. But as he thought about it, Ken realized that all the species he'd watched in the wild preferred to rest on ledges, low branches, and other elevated perches where they were safe from predators. They really only used the ground for feeding and traveling. So he brought in some hay bales for the chukars to perch on, and then left his son in charge of feeding and data collection while he went away on a short work trip. Any questions from this one?
Yes, Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Branches and parts are the same.
Branches and perches, are those the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Branch. Sorry.
Are they the same?
A branch is like a tree branch, you know. A perch is something you can sit on. So technically, yes, a branch can be a perch, but a perch is not always a branch, right? A perch can also be like the edge of a chair or the edge of a bed, and you like you're sitting upon it.
So perch, we can sit on perch.
Yes. So a perch is just something you sit upon, and usually it's like this small little space. Perch as a verb means to just sort of, you have this small little space to just like kind of sit upon it. So I might perch upon my student's desk right? It's just a small little space. I'm just sitting down for a moment and then I'm standing back up and going about what I'm doing, right? In the bird world, right, a perch might be a telephone line, right? Very small little space and it's just perching there, right? So it can be a verb or a noun.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Anything else?
Miss,
Yes.
brown birds don't like the grounds, and then why did the other put comma? No, question mark.
Question mark. Good question. I was wondering that myself. I think the reason they put a question mark there, technically it shouldn't be a question mark. You're correct. I think the reason they put a question mark there is to make it sound how you would say it, right? You would say it like ground birds don't like the ground. Like you're wondering that. You're like, why would they want something to climb on? They don't like the ground. So it's something you're wondering. But technically it is not a question. But that's why they put the question mark there.
So can we use that writing style in like formal writing, like when we write
I
an
think
essay?
you could say it. You could use it in informal writing. If you're writing a college paper, I probably wouldn't.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, teacher. I have one question. Yes. Hey, please for the chuka. I don't know. What does it mean?
Yes. It's a type of bird. So up, excuse me, up here it says that he settled on the chukar partridge as his model species, meaning he decided for this type of bird, the chukar partridge, to be the bird, the species that he's going to study. So if you'd like to Google it, you can. I'm not sure what kind of bird that is, but it's some type of bird that lives on the ground. Good question. Any others?
What are hay bales?
Ooh, good question. Hay bales are, excuse me, right? So ranchers or farmers grow hay. It's what your cattle, your horses, some other animals eat. It's like a type of grass. And so in harvest season, they go out and they harvest the hay and they bring them into bales. And bales can either be round and like huge. They're really, really big. They're like, probably 5-6 feet tall in diameter, right? So then you think about that circumference. They're pretty wide too, probably about the same width as well. Anyways, and so they can be round, and it's basically just the hay that's been all collected and wrapped up and kind of condensed down. And usually there's some sort of netting or something that ties it together. Sometimes it's just string. Hay bales can also be square and rectangle. When they're rectangular, they're usually a bit smaller, 3 by 4 feet ish type of deal, compared to the big round ones. But it's just how they like collect the dried harvested hay, condense it down, and then they'll let it dry out in the field. So like where I live, right, there's tons of farms all around me. During harvest time, tons of hay bales everywhere, just out on the field all the time. They all dry out and then they stack them in their barns and sheds and then they feed on it all winter. Good question.
In Myanmar, we don't we don't stack them. We don't stack the hay up. We just
Okay.
pile them up.
Okay, you just tie them up. Is it like a big like bale like that, or is it smaller?
It's like a small hill.
Okay.
We just pile them up.
Okay. Yeah. They're like small. We have like machines. What are they called? I can't remember. A baler, I think is what they call it. And it's like little machines, and they cut it all down, right, with all their other tools, but then they go around. I think it's called a baler, and like with their tractor, and it like takes it all like condenses it down. So like we used to use hay bales for like archery because it would stop the arrows because it was like really thick and condensed. Yeah. Okay, any other questions from this paragraph? All righty, let's keep moving. Okay. Barely a teenager at the time, young Terry Dial was visibly upset when his father got back. I asked him how it went, Ken recalled, and he said, terrible. The birds are cheating. Instead of flying up to their perches, the baby Chukars were using their legs. Time and again, Terry had watched them run right up the side of the hay bale, flapping all the while. Ken dashed out to see for himself, and that was the aha moment. Any questions?
Yes, tie him again, teacher, please.
Say it one more time.
Tie him again. The second paragraph. The fourth, yeah.
And again. Yes, that is a phrase that means over and over. That means once and twice and a third time. Time and again. The first time and again the second time. And that's a common phrase. You can use that in any case, any situation in which you're saying more than once. Time and again, I went to the store. Time and again, I did my homework. Time and again. Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, teacher.
Yes.
Can you tell me about dash out?
Tell you about what?
Dash out from the below second line.
The second line here?
No. In second line from the below.
This one?
Can dash out.
Oh, dash out. I'm sorry. For some reason, my computer, I couldn't decipher the sounds. Thank you for your patience. Excuse me. Dashed out means you ran out. You sprinted to run. Dash means you moved very quickly and out right outside. Yep, very common word. To dash about. Any others?
So, Miss, is all the while and all the time the same in this context?
Yep. Yes. I think in all contexts, all the while and all the time mean the same thing. Yeah. Good question. You guys are doing good. You guys have good questions today, making lots of connections. Any others? Did you have a question, Margaret?
Yes, Chair. Can we use barely on the middle of the sentence? Like, I have a heart disease, so I barely eat only rice. I barely eat rice.
Yes. Barely means just barely. Little bit. Hardly can do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, good. Angel, did you have a question?
Yeah. The meaning of aha moment is mean surprise.
Not a surprise. Not necessarily a surprise, but more like you made a connection. So there is this sense of surprise about it, but it's more like, oh, aha, I understand now. That's what it's talking about. Anything else?
Miss, why did the author use flying up? Can we just say flying, or before that there was also a line in the paragraph climbing on. Can we just use climb?
Well, so yes, you can just say instead of flying to their perches. I think the reason they excuse me. I think the reason they add the word up is to make this distinction that they're ground birds, and instead of flying up to their perches, they're running. So they're trying to make this distinction of all the way down here up to their perches. You technically don't need that word. So if you were trying to get rid of words, you don't need it. but I think they're trying to make a big point that it's up high because they're trying to describe how they learned how to fly. Same with climbing on. You said that it was in a different paragraph, huh? I'm not sure where it was, but probably same thing. You can use climbing, but they're just trying to make this distinction that it's on to something. A lot of times in English, we use a lot of little words that probably aren't super important, but it just like, it's kind of how English flows. Okay, any others?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And how about the cheating usage in this first sentence? Because I also know that cheating is used in the relationship, right? So how about the terrible, the birds are cheating? Yeah. I want to
Yes, very good. So this is not cheating and like cheating on your boyfriend or your girlfriend, right? This is cheating in like on a test, right? You're getting the answers and you're cheating and you're not actually doing your work. So in this sense, this barely teenager, this young kid is saying the birds are cheating. They're supposed to be flying. They're not flying. They're running and using their legs instead of flying, right? And flapping. So it's just referring to, you're supposed to be doing it this way, right? You're supposed to be taking your test, and instead someone told you the answers. You're supposed to be flying, and instead you're running, you know? So it's just referring to that type of cheating. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Are there any others? Okie doke. Let's move to the next paragraph. It says, the birds were using their wings and legs cooperatively, he told me, and that single observation opened up a world of possibilities. Working together with Terry, who has since gone on to study animal locomotion, Ken came up with a series of ingenious experiments, filming the birds as they raced up textured ramps tilted at increasing angles. As the incline increased, the partridges began to flap, but they angled their wings differently from birds in flight. They aimed their flapping down and backward, using the force not for lift, but to keep their feet firmly pressed against the ramp. Do you have any questions in this one?
What does ingenious means? A series of ingenious experiments.
I'm sorry. Ingenious means like, it almost means genius. Ingenious means like new, unthought of, very smart. I'm gonna look up an actual definition. Oh, why won't it just hang on? Yeah, like clever, original, inventive. So you thought up on your own this really smart experiment. What else?
Miss, cooperatively.
Say it one more time.
Cooperatively. This on the
Cooperatively.
second line.
Yes, to
Yes.
work together, to cooperate. Yeah, work together. Anything else?
How about the came up and raised up the prison birds?
Say it one more time.
Came up and raised up this prison bird. Yeah. In the fifth
This one
sentence.
came up.
Yeah. Came up and also raised up.
This one raced up.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
Yes. So Ken came up with a series of ingenious experiments. Ken thought up, he thought, really, is what it is. I'm trying to think if there's another way you could describe that. Came up. maybe decided on, but not really decided. It's more that he thought or created. So he came up with an idea. It's usually when you use the word, excuse me, usually when you use the word came up, it's like you're thinking about something. So you came up with an idea, you thought of an idea, you created an idea. Otherwise, came up means like you walked up to someone or something, right? But in this context, it's his thoughts. So he created this ingenious experiment. And then raced up, raced means to like run. And so they're running up the ramps at these angles. Mm-hmm. To race means to run really fast. Now, normally race means that you're competing with someone else when you're running. This one, they're not competing. Race can also mean like dash, right? To just run super quickly, to go as fast as you can. Anything else?
Hello, teacher.
Hi.
Your subline opens up a world of possibility.
This means the world of possibilities. Means anything is possible. American culture, because we're like have an individualism culture, the Americans often think that like they can do anything they want, that any world is open to them, and if they think of that world or they think of that dream, they can achieve that dream, they can make that thing happen. And so that's what it's referring to. If you get to like the basis of American culture, is that there's a world of possibilities, and if you just could open that door or think of that thing or imagine that dream, or you know, in this case, see an observation, right? Make an observation. Suddenly, this world has opened to you that you can discover all sorts of new things. In his case, he can figure out how the birds learned how to fly, right? You can also say opened up a world of possibilities of like, okay, I got my teaching certificate. That has opened a world of possibilities. I can teach first grade through sixth grade. I can teach anywhere in the United States. I can, you know, on and on, right? So it just means that you have lots of opportunities to succeed or figure something out, etc.
I use this when I want to encourage someone.
Say it again.
Can I use this word, a word of possibility, when I want to encourage someone?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's very encouraging. Anything else?
Miss, birds in flight. Is it mean that birds who can fly? That birds that can fly?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sure. What does the mean texture ramp tilted?
Textured ramps tilted. So textured means that it's rough. It's not a smooth surface, so the birds don't slip when they run. So it's textured. You can use this in really anything. As long as something's not smooth, it's textured. So the cloth on my bin is textured. It's not smooth, right? However, the book binding is very smooth, so it's not textured, right? It's smooth. Ramps is just like a flat plane that is tilted at an angle. So like instead of being flat, you know, ground, it's a ramp that goes up. Oftentimes you use ramps on the road to go up to a new, like a higher road, right? A bridge or something. Ramps can be used like when I was a kid and my family moved, we had we had a driveway that was like an 80-degree angle almost. And so we had to put down ramps to change that incline so that the car could get up the driveway. So it's just something that's at an incline. And tilted means that there's like an angle, same thing. Any others?
Miss, I feel like something is missing on the like in the paragraph. Like they aim their flapping down and backward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it supposed to be like they aim their wings flapping down and backward?
You could add that in. You don't have to, because it's saying as the incline increased, the partridges began to flap. And the implied is obviously they're flapping their wings. What else would they flap? And they angled their wings differently from birds in flight. They aimed their flapping, again, implied, they're flapping their wings. They aimed their flapping down and backwards. So it's implied wing, so you don't have to put it in, because it's really talking about the action of flapping their wings, not the wings themselves. Good question. If it was talking about the wings themselves, then you would have to put in the wings. But since it's talking about that motion, it doesn't matter, it's implied. Anything else? Alrighty, let's move on. Okay. It's like the spoiler on the back of a race car, he explained, which is a very apt analogy. In Formula One racing, spoilers are the big aerodynamic fins that push the cars downward as they speed along, increasing traction and handling. The birds were doing the very same thing with their wings to help them scramble up otherwise impossible slopes. Any questions for this one?
A very apt analogy.
Mm-hmm. It means an analogy that makes sense, that fits perfectly. To be apt, like, is aptitude, which means like your ability is just right. Like you have an aptitude to do something. It comes very naturally to you. So I have an aptitude to work with children, right? It's very natural for me, and it's not hard at all. It's very, that's how I was made. So you might be have an aptitude for science, an aptitude for something else, right? And so that's what it's referring to, is it's like very proper. It just makes sense. It's very natural that the same way the birds are flapping their wings is the exact same way the race car works. It's very apt. It works perfectly.
So, Miss, is apt a word, or does it have any long forms?
Well, the long form would be aptitude, but I do think apt is a word by itself. Let me check. Because aptitude is like a noun, like it's something you possess, but apt is more like you're apt to do that thing. Aptitude might be, okay, let me look. Apt is an adjective, and then let me look up what aptitude is. I think it might be a noun. Yes, aptitude is the noun and apt is the adjective.
And what is analogy?
An analogy is like a comparison. Let me look up a formal definition, because like there's metaphors and there's similes and there's personification and there's like all sorts of things that you like can compare things with. An analogy, so I want to give you like a proper definition. An analogy is a comparison that talks about similarities. Okay, I guess it's not specific enough. Okay, I guess an analogy must be a broader term than like a metaphor or a, parable or something. So an analogy just means you're comparing two things.
In